So, well, let's start then. The other week I already introduced you to Maxime. Maxime is now here, working within the framework of the project in Neuilly about the urban mobility. And well, he did the PhD in France, in Clermont-Ferrand, in the group of the Juan, was it? And after that he came here, so it's been a quite a direct thing. So please, Maxime, the floor is yours.
Okay, hello everybody. I'm very glad to be here, and I would like to thank José Raver and Maxime for the postdoctoral position they offer me. So today I will present a chapter of my PhD thesis, and I will talk about commuting networks. So in my PhD thesis we developed a model able to simulate commuting network with only aggregated data. So it's a joint work with Sylvie Huet. She works in the Laboratory of Engineering for Complex Systems, the LISC, at STA of Clermont-Ferrand. Floriana Gargiulo, she works in the NAXIS laboratory at the University of Namur. And Guillaume Desfuants is the head of the LISC, and he was my PhD supervisor. So first I will present the context of my PhD thesis and of this work, and after the motivation, I will present you the model that we developed, the calibration of the unknown parameter of this model, and then I will show you some results and the comparison with another three-parameter model of commuting networks. And to conclude, I will present a summary and some perspectives. So first, the context. My PhD was funded under the European PRIMA project, and the LISC in this project was in charge of developing a dynamic stochastic microsimulation model called SimVillages. And the purpose of this model is to simulate the evolution of rural municipalities in terms of population, size and age distribution, activity and housing distribution, and the evolution of job offer due to the presence of population. These jobs are called proximity service jobs. And these evolutions are in interaction between all the municipalities of the region. And under the effect of scenario, job and housing municipality offers, and this scenario gives the constraints due to the evolution of the context. But because there is something that we are not able to estimate or to reproduce with the dynamic of the model. So we need some scenario. For example, if a municipality wants to decide to build 100 new houses in this municipality, it's not possible for us with the dynamic to predict that. So we need this scenario. And the purpose of the SimVillages model and the European PRIMA project was to answer this question: what is the future of population in rural areas? So now I will present you the attributes of the model. So it's a microsimulation model. So the entity as the basis of the system is the individual, represented by an age, job status, for example, student, retired, or active people, family status. It can be a head of an household, partner of an household, or the head of the household, or child of the household, and how individual lives within an household of a certain type. For example, an household of single individual, monoparental family, couple with children, couple without children, and a certain size, the number of individuals in the household. And this household live in an house, and this house takes place in a municipality of the region. If the individual has a job, this job is represented by a sector of activity and a socio-professional category. And this job can be in the municipality of residence of the individual, or in another municipality of the region, or in a municipality outside of the region. And today I will show you how we can find this place of work for each individual in the model. So we have implemented this the SimVillage model to simulate the Auvergne region. So the Auvergne region is an administrative French region in the middle of France. And the idea is to simulate this region at the municipality scale from 1990 to something like 2000, the year 2030. And what else for the region? Okay, so first so we have some available data in 1990. The most part of this data are aggregated data. So during my PhD, I extract information from the available data to generate a synthetic population of the Auvergne region and to simulate a commuting network of the Auvergne region in 1990. It's an initial state in the single ages model. And I also built some sub-model to estimate the dynamic of job and migration. So this is a direct use of the data, and there is also an indirect use of the data with the calibration of the unknown parameter of the single ages model. So we selected the parameter value, minimizing the simulated distance between the simulated data and the observed data. So I answer 4 research questions. How generate a synthetic population with just aggregated data? So because in 1990 we just have aggregated data, so I simulate a synthetic population without sample. The second question is about the generation of a commuting network with aggregated data. I will show you this today. The third question is now about economic point of view. I extracted from the total number of service jobs, the number of jobs essentially due to the presence of population. So this job I call proximity service job. And the fourth question, how calibrate a synthetic deep dynamic stochastic microsimulation model using approximate Bayesian computation. And today I will present how we can generate a commuting network with only aggregated data. So first, the motivation. So we consider a region composed of 3 units. So I call this entity units because there is different scale for units: municipality, provincia, département, canton. But for this trivial example, we can consider that this is municipality. So we have 3 municipalities, A, B, and C. And between 2 municipalities, there is some individual living in a municipality and working in another municipality. These individuals are called commuters. And we have this link between municipalities for all the municipalities of the region. And it represents the commuting network, also called origin-destination table. And the purpose of this work is to estimate the number of commuters for each flow. So simulated the commuting network. Simulate the commuting network. And we have just 3 types, we have only 3 types of aggregated data to do that. The number of out commuters, so the number of individuals living in the municipality A and working in another municipality of the region or outside of the region. It represents the job demand. The number of in-commuters, individuals living in another municipality and working in the municipality A, represents the offer. So we have this type of data for all the municipalities of the region, and we have also the Euclidean distances between municipalities. So we choose the Euclidean distances because it is easy to compute, since we have the geographical coordinate of the municipalities, and these data are free. So with these 3 types of aggregated data, we need to simulate the commuting network. So we can find in the rich literature some models able to do that. For example, the doubly constrained gravity model. But it was not easy to use this model in our case. I will show you later why. And we need, for the most part of this model, we need to calibrate a parameter value with detailed data, or with detailed data. And it's not the case for our model. So now the model. So we have three types of aggregated data, and we need to find a place of job for 9 commuters in this case. 5 out commuters for the municipality A, 1 for the B, and 3 for the municipality C. So we can initialize the commuting network. So at the beginning we have 0 commuters in each flow. And we can observe that there is no flow towards the municipality C. It's because there is 0 in-commuters in the municipality C, so 0 job offer. And now I will show you how we can, one iteration of the model, how we can find a place of job for 1 out-commuter. So first we need to draw at random 1 municipality, so for example the municipality A, and we need to choose a place of work for 1 commuters among the 5 commuters. And we need to choose between the municipality B and the municipality C. And to do that, we use distribution of probability. The probability that 1 commuter work in the municipality B is proportional to the offer of the municipality B, the number of in-commuters, so 7 in this case, and a function with 2 parameters, so this is a cost function, a so-called deterrence function, with the distance as parameter and an unknown parameter beta. So in this case, because there is 0 in-commuters in the municipality C, we choose the municipality B. It's just a trivial example. And so we found a place of work for 1 individual, so we have 1 individual in this flow.
But you're assuming that all commuters remain in the region?
In this case, in this example, yes. All these individuals live and work in the region.
But that's not necessarily the case.
No, but I will explain later.
And the population is irrelevant for you?
Sorry?
The population of A, B, or C is not important.
It's not important. It's just in and out commuters, no population. So we have now 1 commuters in this flow. We decrease the number of out commuters of the municipality B. A of 1, we decrease the number of in-commuters in the municipality B of 1, and we repeat this process until all commuters found a place of work. And we obtain a simulated commuting network. So in this case, the system is closed, all individuals live and work in the region. And it's a stochastic model, because we randomly choose the municipality of work. We need to define, to choose the deterrence function, and we need to calibrate the parameter beta. So with this example of a closed system, we have this kind of origin-destination table. So the light gray table represents the origin-destination table between all the municipality of the region, from all the municipality of the region to all the municipality of the region. And 1 cell corresponds to the number of individuals working in the municipality and living in the municipality and working in another. And we can observe that in this case, the total number of out-commuters is equal to the total number of in-commuters. So for this kind of origin-destination table, we can use a doubly constrained gravity model. But very often we have this kind of origin-destination table. It's the origin-destination table from the region to the region, and this column represents the number of out-commuters living in the region but working outside of the region. And this line, this row, represents the number of commuters living outside of the region and working in 1 municipality of the region. And in this case, the number of out-commuters is not equal to the number of in-commuters. And it's not a problem with our model because we can easily add an outsider. And we obtain as output this table. so the origin-destination table from the region to the region, and if we add the municipality of the roadside with the number of in-commuters, and if we add the distance, we can also obtain this table. And since we have the total number of out and in-commuters, from this table we can easily compute this table.
One question. If you do this, since it's a probabilistic assignment, well, not in the case that the example was very clear because I guess there is only one solution. But in general, there are many nodes, and the way you assign is probabilistic. So you obtain different tables if you repeat that several times.
With our model?
Yeah, I mean the way you assign, you take the one that is more probable, but is a function of probability, function of the distance and whatever. So the values that you get for that table should be different if you do you try to do the same several times, isn't it?
Yeah, because of the stochasticity.
Yes, right. Yeah. So then, is there a measure of how different the tables are, I mean, to which point this table is representative of the result? Because if you obtain different tables, you're going to obtain...
Yeah, but for each figure or each result I will present today, we reproduce, we replicate.
Okay.
Okay?
And then you take average or...
Yeah, we replicate 10 or 100 times, it depends on the figure, but we replicate each time. Okay, so now I will show you how we can calibrate the unknown parameter of our model. So to calibrate beta, we need the goodness of fit measure between the simulated network and the observed network. So we chose the common part of commuters. So we can compute the number of commuters in common between two networks.
What is the observed network?
It's detailed data.
But you have data of who commutes from A to B?
Yeah. The world origin destination table.
And then why do you need the model?
No. In the beginning there was only accumulated data.
Yeah, we have 3 types of aggregated data, and now I just show you a way to calibrate the parameter beta with detailed data, of course. But I will show you how we can estimate directly with aggregated data this value, the calibrated value of beta. Clear enough?
Can we see where was the parameter beta again? Can we go back here? It's a function of beta.
Yeah. So it's an exponential law or a power law. I can choose this one or this one.
Do you have any saturation effect in your probability? So let's say you have already 7 commuters going to a town, and then you assume that this is more probable to commute there. But then, if you add another 7, most likely well, there will be no work left in the town. Let's say, for example, that you saturate the labor market in the town, or something like this. Because right now, the way I see the probability of adding a new commuter increases with each commuter it already receives.
The number of commuters decrease.
Decrease. Okay.
So you say, okay, just this job now is occupied.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So imagine that we have the observed network. We can compute the number of common commuters between the simulated network and the observed network. It's the minimum of commuters for each flow. For example, for this flow from A to B, there is 4 commuters in common between the observed and the simulated network. So we have in total 7 commuters in common.
So sorry, but if you have the observed network, why don't you set the observed network right at the beginning as a network that you have?
Yeah. Yeah, sure, but I will explain why later.
Okay.
It's just the method to calibrate the value of beta.
Okay.
And after we will have the calibrated value of beta, we can estimate this calibrated value of beta. I will do that later. So imagine that we have the observed network, we have the common part of commuters, so it's the number of common commuters divided by the total number of commuters. For example, for this trivial example, we obtain a value of 0.8. Means that there is 80% of commuters in common between the two networks. It's a good network of fit comprised between 0 and 1. So we obtain if we have a value of 0, means that there is no commuters in common, and a value of 1, the two networks are the same. And now to calibrate the value of beta, for example, here it's an example with the Auvergne region in 1999. I will present you later the data sets, but imagine that for different value of beta, we simulated 10 commuting networks. We compute the average common part of commuters, the minimum common part of commuters, and the maximum common part of commuters to understand the influence of the stochasticity. And it's this figure, we can observe that the stochasticity has a very weak influence on the common part of commuters. And to calibrate the value of beta, we choose the value of beta maximizing the common part of commuters. So I don't show the results here, but this value of beta maximizing the common part of commuters, minimizing the classic absolute error, the root mean square error, and also minimizing the Kolmogorov-Smirnov distance between the commuting distance, simulated commuting distance distribution and observed commuting distance distribution.
So you said this is that of 1999?
Yeah.
So already in 1999 you have the detail,
yeah.
Not only the aggregate.
No. The objective is to simulate the commuting network in 1990. So we have just 3 types of aggregated data, but for 1999 we have detailed data, so we can understand how functions the model and we can calibrate this parameter beta. So now I will present.
Excuse me. You're using Euclidean distance.
Yeah.
But that's not the real commuting distance.
No.
So.
But we don't other type of distance.
In some cases it is very different, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In Auvergne there is some mountain and it can be very different because of that. So we have 7 data sets. For Czech Republic we have 1 region at the municipality scale. For France we have 34 regions at the municipality scale and also 15 regions at the canton scale. So canton it's a bunch of municipalities, on average 10 municipalities per canton. 1 region at the département scale, so département is a big administrative region in France, and this region represents the whole France at the département scale. For Italy, we have 10 regions at the municipality scale, 5 regions at the provincial scale. Provincial is between canton and département. And for the United States, we have 15 regions at the county scale. And we have also the whole USA, the whole country. And for each region, we have also the outside of the region. So first, we use the second data set to choose between the exponential law and the power law. So in the figure, we can observe the commuting distance distribution for the Auvergne region in 1999, the observed data, the results obtained with the exponential law after the calibration process, and the result obtained with the power law. We can observe in these figures that we obtained a better fit with the exponential law than with the power law. And more systematically, we compute the common part of commuters for the 34 region with the power law and the exponential law after calibration. And we can observe that we obtain better results, higher results with the exponential law for almost all the case studies. So based on these results, we chose to use the exponential law for the rest of this work, this presentation. And now the model evaluation. So for all the region, we compute it is the common part of commuters. And And we can observe that, in average, we obtain the value of 0.8. It means that we are able to, with our model, to reproduce 80% of the observed network. And we have also computed the minimum and the maximum, but I think in these figures they are too small to be seen. So now we have our stochastic model. We a way to calibrate the parameter value. We are able to simulate computing network with just 3 types of aggregated data, but we need the detailed data to calibrate the beta value. So it's an issue. And to circumvent this limitation, I found a log linear relationship between beta and the average unit area. So what is this average unit area? It's, for example, for the Auvergne region, at the municipality scale, the average municipality area is 15 square kilometers. At the canton scale, it's 150 square kilometers. At the department scale, 5,000 square kilometers. And we have this log linear relationship, and we can observe that the value of beta decreases when the average unit area increases. It means that the higher the scale, the lower the influence of the distances. So it's not really easy to understand this log linear relationship, and we don't have data to check assumption, but I think it's because of the type of commuting. I think it's the distance don't have the same influence if you are commuters between rural municipality in Auvergne, or if you are commuters between county in United States. But it's just an assumption. We need data to.
Could you remind us where beta enters into the exponential? Is the rate of the exponential? Where is the inverse of a distance? The inverse of a distance. So the natural thing to expect is that this, say, an area will be the square of the inverse of beta. This is what, so beta will be something like 1 over s, the square root of s. This is what I would expect. It's not?
I think it's not.
It is real. No, I know it's not logarithmic scale.
No, but I have just the opposite comment. So this is area, this is 400 kilometers square, so that means that the linear scale is 20 kilometers. If beta is 10 to the minus 4, right, that means that, the values are very small. So my question is, if you put beta 0, how good your fit is?
If we put
beta. Yeah. So because beta is 10 to the minus 4 times 20.
It's minus 4 because the distance is in meter.
This is meters and the other in kilometers?
Yeah. No, it's kilometer.
Well, if this is kilometers, this is 10 to the minus 4 times 20. This is a small number for the exponential, right? So my question is, if you put directly 0, how good, and what is your ground level from which you improve just doing this fitting?
So,
because the exponential I expect to be really small, so it has to be close to 1 in many cases. Do you understand what I mean?
yes, but I'm not sure. No, I don't really understand you.
You have this dependency of beta. You have this plot dependency of beta.
Yeah.
So do you have this for larger scale of beta values, or only the small window?
Just the small. Just check between different value of beta to maximize the value of beta.
Go to the plot you got where you did the calibration, and you choose the calibration.
But this plot is with a calibrated value of beta.
Yeah, but the calibration is what he is asking. If you put beta 0 there, the common part of commutes go very low.
Yeah, very low.
Well, not maybe 0.71 instead of 0.75.
No, we don't involve because it's 1.5, 1.
Okay.
No, with the value of beta value of the weight means that there is no distance. The distance has no influence.
Yeah, it's random distribution.
Yeah, it's a random distribution.
Yeah, so
But
this-
we have also
this
plot.
model-
I don't have the result here, but we have also plotted the result obtained for each region in terms of CPC for beta value of 0 for a random distribution. And we obtained a common part of commuters of about 0.1 in average. Am I clear? Okay, so anyway, we can use this distribution to estimate the value of beta. It means that we no longer need detailed data if this relation is good. And to check that, we perform a cross-validation. So the idea is, the basic idea is to divide the observation into two sets, one to build the model and one to test the model. So for example, imagine that we got from 2/3 of the region, we build the generalized linear model, and after for one region, we can test the results for one region. And for example, for this region in the United States, we obtained an estimated value of beta. And because we have the detailed data, we also have a calibrated value of beta. So we can compute the common part of commuters for the estimated value of beta, the calibrated value of beta, and we can understand the impact of the beta estimation. And if we repeat this process 10,000 times, we obtain about 3,000 estimations of beta for each region. So 3,000 estimation of beta associated to 3,000 common part of commuters value. And we obtain this kind of result. Here we have the common part of commuters obtained with the calibrated value of beta. Here the average common part of commuters obtained with the 3,000 estimation of beta. And we also compute the minimum and the maximum, but for this region, they are too small, the bar are too small to be seen here. But we also have the results for all the region, and we can observe that for all the regions, the common part of commuters obtained with the estimation value of beta, so which means that okay, we don't have detailed data, we just use the log linear relationship to estimate beta, are the same that we obtain, almost the same that we obtain with the calibrated value of beta. It means that if we use, for this type of region, if we use log linear relationship, we are able to simulate a commuting network with just three aggregated data. But of course, we need to compare this result to the result obtained with another three-parameter model of commuting network. And we chose to compare our model, the radiation model. So the radiation model was proposed by Simini and colleagues in 2012. And with this model, we can compute the average average number of commuters between two entities. So this entity are Kunti, this example. And we can compute this average number of commuters between two entities with the number of inhabitants in the Kunti I, the number of inhabitants in the Kunti J, the number of inhabitants in the circle of center Kunti I and radius Euclidean distance between Kunti I and Kunti J. And they also need the total number of inhabitants in the region and the total number of commuters. So these aggregated data are less constrained than our data, our input, but they need the total number of commuters, because this is an estimation of the total number of out commuters. It shows that there is a relation between the number of out commuters and the number of inhabitants for each county of the region. So this is just an estimation of the total number of out commuters. And we simulated one commuting network for each of our 80 regions with this model, and we obtained this result. So here we can observe the result obtained with our model with the estimated and calibrated value of beta. The green point represents the result obtained with the radiation model, this radiation model. And to be fair with the radiation model, we also propose another version of the radiation model where we replace the input of this model by our input. It means that we, instead of the number of inhabitants, it's the number of out commuters and in commuters. And we can observe that this new version of the radiation model improves the result in terms of common part of commuters. But for all the region, we obtain better result, higher value of common part of commuters with our model. In average 0.8 for us and 0.4 for the radiation model, classic version, and 0.5 for the radiation model, the new version. So we can say that for this type of region, we outperform the result obtained with we outperform the radiation model, but just for the common part of commuters. If we want to, I don't know, we need to see the result at more local scale because it's a global indicator. And to do that, we reproduce the figures that we can find in the paper of Simini. So for the whole United States at the county level, they plot the total number of commuters in each flow. Here the commuters, the number of commuters in each flow for the observed data, for the simulated data. And so each gray point represents the number of commuters for each flow. The red line represents the perfect fit. And they divided the x-axis between into bins of same size, and for each bin they plot the box plot of the simulated number of commuters, and the blue point represents the average number of commuters. And so this is the result obtained with the radiation model. Here's the result obtained with our model. So you can see that we obtain better result with our model, but it's not really significant for this region. And here we can also observe the commuting distance distribution. In blue, the observed commuting distance distribution. In red, the simulated commuting distance distribution. And in green, the commuting distance distribution obtained with the radiation model. And we can observe that we obtained a better fit with our model than with the radiation model. And it's quite normal because we calibrated the beta value on the common part of commuters, and this beta value also minimize the number of the Kolmogorov-Smirnov distance between the observed commuting network, commuting distance distribution, and the simulated commuting distance distribution. So it's normal that we obtain a good fit with our model. And we also do the same, plot the same figures for the Auvergne region at the municipality scale in 1999. And for this region, we can observe that the results obtained with the radiation model are not really good. And for us, it's quite good. We obtain a good fit between observed and simulated data. And it's the same for the commuting distance distribution. So to conclude, we developed a model, a computing network model, and we tested on 80 different regions in terms of size and scale. We chose between two deterrence functions, the power law and the exponential law, and we showed that the exponential law gives a better result. We estimated the value of beta, and we evaluated this estimation on 80 regions. And we compared our model to another three-parameter model, the radiation model. So, from this perspective, we need to continue to test the model in different regions. It would be interesting to study the impact of the distance, the time distance instead of the Euclidean distance, and the impact of the culture. Because we just have a region from Western country. It would be interesting to simulate commuting networks of region of South America or Africa or Asia. It would be also interesting to use a finer scale, because the smallest scale we use is the municipality scale. So it would be interesting to use a district or neighbor scale. It would be also interesting to evaluate the log-linear relationship, to see if we from the log-linear relationship on a doubly constraint model. And the last perspective, and the most important for me, is the evaluation of the model on a concrete application. For example, it would be interesting to see, to compare the result of a diffusion of epidemic on the observed network and on the simulated network. And if we obtain the same result in terms of diffusion of epidemic, we can say, okay, si we don't have detailed data, we can directly use this model to simulating a network, and after use this simulated network to study diffusion of an epidemic. So that's it. Thank you for your attention.
I'm a bit lost with the physics of your model. So the most important parameter you fit is beta.
Yeah.
Beta is not a value. Beta is a unit. And beta itself also doesn't have a meaning. Only 1 over beta has a meaning, it's a characteristic length. If I look at the numbers that you give, independent of whether you take meters or kilometers, in one case you get a scale of 5 kilometers as characteristic length, in the other case you get 5,000 kilometers as a characteristic length. What's the meaning of this characteristic length, and how does it enter into a unit?
So can you?
So beta doesn't have any meaning. 1 over beta has a meaning. And it's not a value, it's a length. It's a characteristic length. E to the minus length over the characteristic length. And if I take the values that you fit to beta, it's either 5 kilometers or 5,000 kilometers. Both values do not really ring a bell, but they have an important meaning in your model. So what is the meaning actually of your fit parameter beta?
I mean, for this relation?
No, the relation, your beta values are always of order 10 to minus 4, so I have to assume now either meters or kilometers as a unit, so you end up with either a unit of kilometer or a unit of 1,000 kilometers. What is the meaning of that characteristic length?
To be honest, I don't know.
Because you introduce it as a fit parameter, but if it really is a proper fit, it needs to have a meaning. And it's really a term of a characteristic length dependence. So this characteristic length needs to have a meaning.
From my point of view, we just have a parameter value, and we just want to.
It's not a value. It's a unit. Your beta is a unit. It's 1 over beta as a length.
Yeah, but for me it's just a value.
But you need to map your model to reality. So it needs to have a meaning. You need to interpret your model.
Yeah, I think it's really important to interpret this linear relationship. But in this work, we just use this relation to estimate the parameter of beta.
So I will rephrase the question of Figo, I think, if I can. You fit data, okay?
Yeah.
Can we imagine which is the mechanism that would give rise to that fit?
Yeah. So I can not explain, but I can understand why we obtain this relationship. It means that the higher the scale is, the lower the influence of distance is. we need to understand why we obtain that, but after that, I don't really understand this question.
Isn't beta the value at which people stop commuting?
The scale.
Yeah, but the values that he gets are either 1 kilometer or 1,000.
Because
kilometers,
he's
and
changing,
don't
because
match.
he's changing between between municipalities or between big regions. So
The values he gets is that if the size of the region that you look is of order tens of kilometers, you commute about 10,000 meters, which is about 10 kilometers. So 10, 20 kilometers is the size, the typical size that you commute. After that, the exponential goes
No,
down.
but the question is that this is a conditional problem. So essentially you say, okay, I am looking at this scale.
Yeah.
So the fluxes of people commuting in these scales, because you don't consider the ones below, are of this order, and then this beta has the value of 1 over beta is a characteristic for the decay of the fluxes.
Of the probability to
But
commute.
these fluxes appear at that scale. I mean, when you look at regions, for instance, when you look at countries, the scale changes completely, and then the fluxes decay in a different way. And then what he finds is that actually this beta depends on that. It depends on the area in this case, no? But it could depend also in the scale. We found something like that. I mean, the thing is that when you go farther than a certain distance, actually there is no more commuting. That's the yes. So you start to lose the meaning of this kind of curves. But there is this multi-scale behavior. I mean, the network itself changes when you look at a certain scale and a different way. But yes, I mean, still the beta has this meaning.
But in this model, this is the probability. It's an exponential, so it's a probability. How the probability decays with distance. And then this is a typical distance for commuting. If this is kilometers, it doesn't make any sense because 10,000 kilometers is, I mean,
No.
it's impossible to do commuting.
It depends on the type of commuting. I mean, between Conti and United
It
States.
cannot be 10,000 kilometers.
It must be meters.
So if this is 10 to the minus 4 in kilometers, or the inverse of
Right,
kilometer,
people commuting by jet.
not even that, 10,000 is. So if this is kilometers, then I don't see the physical interpretation of that. If this is meters, well, 10 kilometers, then I would basically be in the opposite case, but that case I don't know.
It's the typical time scale. That doesn't mean that you commute 20 kilometers.
I think in the Auvergne region between municipalities, the average commuting distance is 20 kilometers, something like that.
But the thing is, I mean, you give a fit to data and you compare with other models and you say my fit is best, is better. Okay? The other model has a mechanism, and the mechanism, as Victor was asking, is that the commuting depends on the size in terms of population of the systems. So there is a mechanism that you cook up of how the fluxes have to do with the sizes of the populations and whatever. As far as I understand here, the only mechanism that you are saying is that exponentially the probability to commute goes exponentially down with the distance. Okay, that's it.
And the results. Yeah, this function is like as in a gravity model. There is a job offer and the distance.
Yeah.
So it's
So what you're saying is that with a mechanism that is much simpler, because Victor was asking that does not take into account the population, you get a better fit.
But I think this is
I
not
don't
fair
agree
because
with you about this statement. Because the mechanism does not include the total size of the population, but does include the number of people that enter and go out. And this is related to the size of, I mean, if you have a population of 1 people, you cannot have 20,000 people commuting to that place.
But the point is,
So-
I think, is that the model is fixing the number of in and out commuters. This is fixed.
Yeah.
And so the model is not trying to explain this in terms of population.
Yeah.
It takes this fixed from the data, and then
the idea
fitting
is
other
just
things.
to
So
fix.
this is gravity is more fundamental in the sense that it tries to understand the flux in terms of population. But the one Maxime is explaining us is just okay. The flashes are like this. I don't try to explain them. I just try to see how this changes with distances.
Or say
And
that
the idea is
what-
just to
Or what is the microstructure of commuting between two people that matches the global numbers of total people going in and out on each node? That's what, I mean, if you construct, that's what you construct. And then you assign it in a given way, and this probability is only used for assigning this, what is this microstructure? Which of these probably detailed structures is more compatible, or which ones are compatible with the global observed rate of total people going in and out at each point.
And the purpose is not to understand the mechanism of commuting, because we just use Euclidean distance, we have the total number of outing commuters. It's just to fit data. We just have one question: how we can simulate a commuting network if we don't have detailed data. So we are not able to calibrate the parameter value, and we just have 3 types of aggregated data. So it was just to reproduce the commuting network for the Auvergne region in 1999. No, 1997.
And if you say take the same parameters and do the same for 2010,
And that's what I was going to ask. How does it depend? How this will change in time? Or
Yeah, we just have 1 year per data set. But it will be interesting to study the impact of the distance.
So try to use distance by row instead of Euclidean distance, which in principle is more reasonable. Distance to use the distance by row, not the
by row, yeah.
because
But
it's more reasonable.
it's quite expensive. And for all these data sets, it's really, really, really expensive. Putting this,
But this is not easy to get, like distance between cities. You go to Google.
yeah, that's really. Yeah, but
We have to introduce algorithm distributions and then it's
it's not really.
I have a different question. If you are not really interested in beta 1 divided by beta, my question is, do you have cases, because you really need the number of commuters, the total number of commuters, right, from a place?
Yeah.
So you don't need to know where they go, but you need to know how many leave that place, right? So you have examples of countries where you have the number of total commuters from a city, but not where they go. Because that would be cases where your model would be useful, right? Because you can propose the number of commuters between I and J. But I wonder whether you have cases where you have information on the total, but not between cities.
I mean, the total, we just have the aggregated data.
Yeah, because you need that. You need aggregated data, right? For
Yeah.
your model, the total number of commuters.
Yeah.
So you need that. So your model is giving you how this number of commuters distribute, right?
Yeah.
So my question is, do you have cases, countries, where you have the aggregated data, so that the number of commuters per city, per county, municipality, but not the distribution?
Yes, sure. The Auvergne region in 1990, we just have aggregated data.
Okay, so you are inferring that the same beta applies back.
Yeah. We use the log linear relationship to estimate the value of beta. Then we have computed a commuting network, and we use this commuting network in the Sim Villages model that I presented you at the beginning of the presentation.
But then you can compare how good it is, because in the reality.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Okay, so any more questions? Well, now let's thank the speaker again.